All right, this video is on CLIP, the acronym Connect, Learn, Identity, and Purpose. It's the total summation of how life works, from the two axioms in life all the way down to what makes you happy, gives you joy, and how do you live in a state of well-being. It all starts with the connect. We are hardwired to connect to our parents, meaning mom, dad, and parents. That's three entities, three units. The level to which we connect or don't connect determines the following. So if we don't connect, if there's an abandonment, mom and dad get divorced when we're early, in utero, there are fights going on. There's tons of drama going on, which creates trauma to the fetus and or to the baby. Okay. If we're not connecting when we're young, and frankly, this is most people you come in contact with, they could become an unconnected learner if they don't learn to process the trauma that they started with in this world. An unconnected learner is someone who is always learning, constantly reading, but unable to connect the dots and learn from what they're reading, put it into practice, apply. There's a popular saying that's completely mythical, is knowledge is power. It's not power. I mean, how many people know if they're trying to lose weight not to go to fast food restaurants? How many people know if they want to have a good day to get a good night's rest? But do we? Do we still stay up late? Do we still play video games? Do we still stay on social media? We know that social media isn't going to give us anything satiable. And we know that if we want to lose weight, going to fast food restaurants, drive through, isn't going to help us lose weight. In other words, knowledge isn't power unless we apply the knowledge. Applied knowledge is power. That's wisdom. So, I mean, I have clients who've got more reading under their belt than I've ever done in the field in which I'm an expert at. But they're unable to apply that knowledge because of the trauma they had earlier in their lives. Becoming a connected learner, so let me give you the opposite, a lifelong learner, is where we're going. So when we don't connect the dots, we develop what's called a false self. So go down to the identity. A false self is filled with false narratives. I have no worth. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve. I can't develop healthy relationships. Now, if we develop that type of mindset, our behavior is going to be maladaptive, dysfunctional, because we'll have a distorted bias of our purpose in life. With a distorted bias, because we didn't connect, we're not understanding how to connect dots, we're telling ourselves stories about ourselves subconsciously that are not true. Therefore, we look at the world through a very filtered or distorted bias, and that means we're going to live in what we call the drama triangle. A drama triangle is where we're playing the role of a victim, we're playing the role of a martyr, and we're playing the role of a persecutor. We live in a world that has taught us that it's okay to be offended. Political correctness is social addiction about being offended. We're walking around giving permission for someone's thoughts, someone's words to offend us. And so we start telling everybody else how they're supposed to behave around us. That's living in a world of victimology. There's no health in there. There's no happiness in that. You're completely violating your boundaries. You have no respect, no trust for yourself. You're turning all of your happiness, joy, and well-being over to the outside world because you're going to go around carrying this badge of honor that you're offended about something, and therefore you get angry and you start the persecuting, or you're trying to rescue somebody. That's why we're so miserable. That's why we're not influential. That's why we're not making the connections we want to make. We don't have the friendships that have any depth to them that we want to have. Now look at the antithesis to this red side, this on the left side. What if you were a lifelong learner? What if you knew how to connect the dots? Then you would be able to discover and live your best self. What would it be like today if you were your best self? Think about that for a second. That you didn't have to get offended, that you chose not to get offended, and that you lived according to principles. So when you get up in the morning, you knew what you were doing. Just ask for a second. If you connect with anything on the left-hand side, why do you get up in the morning? What is the purpose? Do you dread getting up in the morning? Do you dread going to work? Do you dread family reunions? Well, you don't have to be messed up to dread those, because most people at family reunions are messed up. That's a petri dish of dysfunctional behavior. I get that. But you can learn a ton at family reunions about where you came from and why you are the way you are. Because Aunt Bob and Uncle Sally and mom and dad and grandpa and grandma have these maladaptive behaviors that are going on that they've shared with you, and that's the environment in which you were raised. So the idea here is, what would it look like if you could move yourself over and start connecting the dots in the learning process to happiness, joy, and well-being? That you could be your best self, and that day in and day out, the decisions that you're making about the things that you do are principle-based. That you don't have to be stuck in this quagmire of decision-making, trying to please people, because pleasing people is a great way to be miserable. We don't behave based on who thinks they're right. We behave based on what is right, according to the principles. So that's a summary of CLIP. And this will go hand in hand with the two axioms, and it will be followed with the dependency cycle, or the dependency cycle. Yeah, the dependency cycle. And you'll find that rules of engagement fit really well into here. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks.